Welcome to the Tots Cafe Show. I'm Angela.
And I'm Tina.
Our today's show is on attachment parenting. Attachment parenting is primarily responding to your child in a compassionate and nurturing way.
Our guest today is Jeannie Lee. Jeannie has been practicing attachment parenting since before there was term attachment parenting, and has given parenting advice to countless mothers over the years. She is a mother of two. Her 17-year-old daughter, Bella, is a freshman at UCLA, and her 3-year-old son, Christian, is at home with her. We are especially interested in Jeannie's perspective as an attachment parent, because not only has she worked supporting parents over many years and in many capacities, but her own children are cheerful, independent, and happy. Her attachment parenting journey began when she chose to have Bella at home with a midwife. This led to her breastfeeding, co-sleeping, cloth diapering, elimination communication, practices that many of us associate with attachment parenting. She has been a La Leche League leader and helps organize a local South Orange County attachment parenting meetup group. She has worked as a public school teacher, writer, editor, and naturalist, and now puts all that together by teaching a forest kindergarten program through the local nonprofit Nature Connection organization, Earth Roots. Christian attends the forest kindergarten with his mama. Jeannie has a bachelor's degree in English literature from McGill University and a master's degree in critical theory and criticism in art from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. Most of us want to know, what is attachment parenting?
Attachment parenting probably has a lot of really official definitions today. When I started parenting 17 years ago or 18 years ago, attachment parenting still wasn't commonly used. And but what we did have were a number of books that had been written already on the topic of parenting in an attached way. Well, one very important one was written by Jeannie Lee, who wrote the Continuum concept. The basic premise there was that she went and spent time in the rainforest with an Aboriginal tribe, and discovered that the children were extremely well-adjusted and happy and playing alongside their parents, and there was no pejorative terms for describing the children's behavior. There were no 2-year-old tantrums or terrible twos. Children just seemed very happy to be with each other. So she was intrigued by this and started to really investigate and examine how the parents and children were interacting with each other. She discovered that the parents allowed the children to be as close as they needed and wanted to be with the parents. So children were in womb, in utero for 9 months, and then they were also, when they were born, carried for up to 9 months on their mothers or fathers or I think grandmothers and aunts also. So children were really, attachment parenting had to do with having the children right next to their bodies and being available. Of course, were also co-sleeping with their families. They were breastfeeding, extended breastfeeding. Also not necessarily getting one-on-one FaceTime with the children, but the children were always there alongside their parents. So it was very opposed to kind of a Western conventional way of thinking about parenting.
Right.
Focusing on the child.
Instead of having quality time where you might only have a couple of hours with your children a day and you spend that time very focused on your child, parent to child.
Yes.
What she noticed was that the parents gave freely of their time. The children were always there, but the parents were doing adult work and the children were doing children work, playing alongside the parents, and they were not being separated. And the children were not getting any anxiety or stress from being separated from the parents.
Passive observer type.
They were more passive observers, and they felt comfortable, and they were always doing things that the parents, that they could be around their parents.
Right. Interesting. So, yes.
That's, I think, the bottom line for attachment parenting for me is kind of the being present with the children.
Yes.
Many people associate all of those things around attachment parenting. So it often looks like extended breastfeeding, co-sleeping, It often leads to cloth diapering and other practices in the home that are more natural.
Like the early elimination also?
Yeah, elimination communication is a big movement. Those are all related to how earlier cultures have parented children.
What does child-led mean? Should parents make all the decisions? I mean, if the parent's the parent and then the child's the child.
I think people believe that attachment parenting means that you let the child rule the household. I go into families who believe that they're attachment parents or practicing attachment parenting, and the child is like the king of the house.
Oh, like my little prince at
My
home.
prince, and he decides everything. He decides what he wants for breakfast, and he decides what he wants for when he wakes up, and how he's going to play. And I don't actually think that giving children choice is necessarily what attachment parenting is. I believe that let me go back to the children, that the children, and babies especially, really expect the parents to know what's best for them.
Yes.
Right? So the parents are the ones who make the decisions. And however, the child-led means that you're getting your information from your child. So you're following your heart within and your intention based on the information coming from your own family, and not being directed externally by cultural pressures, by what other people may be doing. An attachment parent is going to listen to the cries of a child. So if a child is crying and upset, that means that they're really upset. An attachment parent doesn't really believe, as sometimes is commonly I've heard people say, that a baby is manipulative.
Right.
That a baby cries because the baby is upset.
Right.
And needs to be comforted.
Yes.
Needs to be comforted, or needs to be fed, or needs to go to the bathroom.
Or even
but
held,
or to be held.
Close to
needs
mama.
love.
Yeah.
And so that the crying coming from a baby or a child is not to manipulate you. What you see today in more of a Western culture is that the parent will say, do you want juice or milk? Do you want to go outside or inside? And they give their children all of this leeway in deciding how the day is going to go. Mm-hmm. And I think the parent can decide what is going to be best for that child. And a way to do that is to set up routines during the course of your day of how things are going, and to think about, in terms of your child, how much time they need to spend outdoors, how much rest time they need, being fed on a regular basis, setting up those kinds of systems and routines based on your knowledge of your own child.
Where can a parent find time for him or herself?
I hear that question from moms sometimes, and for myself, I find time when Christian goes to bed at nighttime. I make sure that he goes to bed relatively early, and if I'm tired, I go to bed with him. I can get up a couple hours in the morning also. I mean, a child normally sleeps more like 12 hours a day, right? So during nap time and when the child is asleep. I also have a different use of my time when I'm with Christian. So when he is playing at the park, for instance, I'm practicing benign parental presence. And instead of spending my time reading and writing, which I have done before I had children, I spend more of my time with handwork projects now. So physical things, and I'm making, and I feel productive, but he is able to run around and play and feel safe with me nearby. So there's a change in my focus of how I get things done. And thirdly, I think that if you invest the time and energy when your children are young, that they are more secure later, and you'll have more independence. While a child who may be insecure and worried about their parents leaving may end up continuing to stay clingy, I think that a child who has had all of their needs met and feel very secure in the world and believe the world to be a loving, safe place for them, that they're able to go forward with more confidence when they're ready to do so.
That makes complete sense. The average age for most children to stop breastfeeding is between 4 months and a year. And it seems that parents are concerned, or the mother is concerned, because the teeth are coming in. What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting that you're bringing up the average age of weaning breastfed babies in the United States, because worldwide that average is actually between 2 and 3 years. So we know worldwide that mothers have found a way to get around this. Western mothers are more inclined to stop breastfeeding earlier because of cultural pressures. Because if you ask at what age babies stop having a bottle, that age is much higher. And people forget that a bottle is an artificial nipple. So it really has to do, I think, with giving people a way out of having to deal with the idea that their breasts are not just sexual. That they're for babies and that milk comes out of them.
Actually made for babies, aren't
Made for babies. But with the idea of breastfeeding babies biting, that is something that happens. So I won't pretend it doesn't happen. However, when a baby is breastfeeding, then they're properly latched on.
Yes.
Their tongue comes out over their bottom teeth.
Yes.
When they're latched on, so it's actually physically impossible for a baby to bite you while they are nursing.
That's very true. Yes.
Okay, so the issue of biting is before and after nursing.
Yes.
So that becomes more of an issue of gentle discipline and also attentiveness. So attentiveness. So the mother needs to be really aware. It's very easy to get into this routine of just nursing your baby and continuing to do other things while you're nursing your baby. When they're teething and the teeth are starting to break through, and you know, we all know the babies start to get really irritable. There might be a lot of drooling going on. Their faces can get even a little bit swollen. Their body is growing and they feel uncomfortable. And a little bit of pressure feels better on their gums. You know, like we often use like a frozen carrot or something cool. They like to chew on their fingers. Once they've discovered that it hurts mama, and you let your baby know that it hurts, then that's something that you can just talk through and say, that hurts mama, no more biting. And then you just use your finger and unlatch and it can stop. But also getting the baby on and nursing right away, and then getting the baby off when they're finished, without hanging out at the breast, just playing around. I have heard stories of mothers who were bitten and they yelled, ah, you know, and screamed, and then the baby was so afraid that it actually inadvertently caused a nursing strike. And the baby was so afraid to nurse, and then one of the Literature League leaders tells this story, and actually the one that's married to Bob Sears, Dr. Bob Sears, and so talks about how she had to spend a weekend not leaving the house and just being calm and getting back into the breastfeeding routine again.
So it is possible.
So it's possible that if you overly react, that you can frighten the baby into a nursing strike, which you don't want either.
No way.
Which can be a little traumatic for the parent and for the baby. So you want to have a calm reaction and to minimize the amount of time before and after the actual nursing.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on our show, Jeannie. We really appreciate all the information that you provided us. It seems that attachment parenting is really the way to go as far as providing a caring and nurturing environment for the baby.
And you can find more information about Jeannie Lee at her website at www.womantalk.org.